Welcome back. Nando's has terminated its sponsorship of Gareth Cliff's show, The Burning Platform. This follows the continuing backlash on social media over Cliff's podcast episode last week. In that clip, which has gone viral, the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, looked on while Cliff dismissed one South Africa movement's Mudzuli Rakhivhane during a debate on identity politics and the upcoming municipal elections. For more on this, we're joined by Carmen Murray, who is a digital analyst, and Muzi, Kuzwayo, who is a brand expert. Thank you so much, Carmen and Muzi, for joining me for this discussion. Muzi, let's talk first about brand Nando's and brand DA. So Gareth Cliff dismisses the racism struggles of a black woman in this country as unimportant and anecdotal. He suggests that many people were not really interested in racism at the local level and in local government elections. And I don't understand how he doesn't know how institutionalized and structural racism is and how it's also alive at municipal level. But are you surprised by this decision that Nando's has taken to walk away from sponsoring that show? What damage did the brand Nando's suffer?
Thank you, Clement. Let's look at it from a systems thinking point of view. The fact that 27 years into our democracy, we still have racism in council when we fought apartheid, it means the ruling party is unable to change racism. The fact that I'm grey-bearded and Mudzuli has to fight the same struggles that I and my grandmothers before fought, it actually tells a very bad story, particularly at election time, about the guys who are in power. But the second thing is that what has happened in the last few days, like from a media point of view, is that the Gareth Cliff saga has sucked up the air for all the election guys. And I think what has happened also lastly is that, as Professor Berihanyane said earlier on, that it's the final stretch. And in the final stretch, as a strategist, you've got to focus on your goal. Not at what is being said about you, not what other people are saying. Your goal now is to win the election. So I think that's the context that we must look at. And then on the issue of Nando's pulling out, when you look at it, the way I see it is, I always have say have a 7-day rule. If there's a social media outbreak, take time to think about it. Was it the right decision for them? Was it not the right decision for them? We'll know later in about 100 days, I always say. It's a decision that, from a marketing point of view, I've always worked on brands that are very controversial, very, very controversial on both sides. There will always be clients within who are nervous, and there'll be those who say, keep going, keep pushing the envelope. Yeah. So from a brand point of view, I think that's what the space is at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because I often think that, brands and companies often have values and principles, and whether there's social media outrage or not, I would think that the brands and the organizations, what they need to do is this in line with our values? Is this in line with our principles? So forget the noise that is out there. Don't dismiss it, but that shouldn't necessarily be, people are angry over this Gareth Cliff clip. Let's act. But it must be more, this is against our values, it's against our principles. He failed to create an environment that embraces free speech, and therefore we are acting. And maybe, Mara, you can come in here and tell me about what you are seeing online, because you watch and analyze the behavior and what people say. John Steenhuisen was sitting there with a smirk on his face, and this woman was spoken over and dismissed in that way. He now says he was a victim of a facial expression police. There's something to be said there, I think, about his silence, right? Because, there's a saying that if you are sitting there and there's injustice and you're not saying anything, that injustice is going to triumph when you are not saying anything or doing anything. What damage does this have on brand DA? And what are the conversations online about, particularly, even John Steenhuisen's reaction?
Hi, Clement. First of all, I would like to address the smirk. Even on the Citizen, they interviewed a psychologist that said that apparently his facial expressions was expressing superiority. So he was nodding along with everything that everybody was saying. Now, if you think about it logically, throughout this entire campaign, whenever he hears things that are said to him that he doesn't like, he blocks the people on Twitter. Now he's in a real life environment. This lady's speaking up, and he blocks her by not participating and nodding actually in agreement with what was said. This obviously went viral on social media. We can even see, if we look at the Google Trends, a massive spike occurred. But very importantly, what the word that is currently being owned by the DA during the elections is racism. And it's also very important to understand, people started picking up and they were like, wait, Muzi Maimane actually left the DA exactly 2 years ago on the 23rd of October. And I think the incident happened on the 22nd of October this year. And Muzi Maimane delivered this emotional speech. He was horrified by it. And this is when people started going, oh, so this is why Muzi Maimane left. Oh, this is why Herman Mashaba left. And just before I joined the show, I just wanted to let you know that I went to go and check the live stats now on sentiment. And what we are currently seeing is that the DA is in big trouble. And I don't know how they're going to recover in such a short period of time. But all of their sentiments, Action SA is in the lead at the moment. Yeah.
Muzi, by acting the way that he did, that's John Steenhuisen, standing there and saying nothing, you know, people are reading that as him associating himself with Gareth Cliff's misogynistic behavior. Is the impact then more on his brand, right? What kind of a leader he is, right? Because that's what people have asked. Or is the impact more on this political party that he leads, which has often been associated with racism, right? Often called a racist party.
Well, if you think about it, John Steenhuisen is a bit of a lamppost, is he not? He always gets caught up in storms that he didn't create, and once in a while, dogs come and urinate on him. He inspires nothing. He gives people nothing. It's easier for him to harp on the past, to find a lot of things that, you know, a lot of people, probably rightly so, he makes people think that he's a bit of an imbecile. But if you look at, I want to go back to the issue that you spoke about how quickly you should respond. You know, remember, Gareth Cliff was first, it's not the first time that Gareth Cliff is accused of racism.
Yeah.
And the first time he was defended by Mabuza and Dalimpofu, and he won the case against Mnet. So as a brand owner, you've got to be very careful on how you handle those things. And know that, look, we are sponsoring somebody who's who's explosive. We don't know how they're going to go. And it's always something to think about from a brand point of view. And it happens on either side. So I think John Steenhuisen and the DA are going to be, we'll see on the 1st, of course, but I think they're going to be very shocked with what is going on, that people don't know who he is. I mean, we did some research in KZN. In the conversations, the DA doesn't even come up. So these things such as these, they kind of give them, discussions such as these, they give people like Steenhuisen more room to breathe when they actually should have none whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, some people have been asking whether he even has the intellectual depth to understand why that smirk was so offensive, because I don't think he still gets it. Probably the same way he didn't get the Phoenix posters and how offensive they were until the party had to take a decision that this is a mess up. Carmen, what you are seeing on social media, is it mostly DA members or DA supporters that are now turning their backs against this organization, or are there even other supporters or people who were potential supporters of the DA who previously were not really supporters of the organization but were considering it and now are saying, okay, hold up, this party is being associated with racism day by day and maybe I need to be reconsidering my position. So in terms of the reaction you're seeing, is it mostly DA supporters? And are you getting some that are actually still in support of the organization and are constantly defending it in the face of these scandals?
Yeah, indeed. A very good question. We are definitely seeing that there is very loyal DA supporters that, also come across like racists themselves through the comments that they are making. However, the more important thing is what we did see, obviously, as the weeks have gone by, we've started seeing voter apathy, and that people are not sure which party to vote for, and therefore don't want to pitch up at the voting stations. Now, what we are seeing online is where people are going, I am definitely not voting for the DA. I'm going to vote for any party but the DA. So there's definitely something that's happening there. I do believe that there's going to be a lot of people that's been neutral for a very long time. This is the people that hasn't spoken up as yet, that have made decisions. We can already see that Herman Mashaba is sitting with the highest positive sentiment and the lowest negative sentiment. And this is going to show, I mean, if you just look at the DA right now, as we look at it, it's the highest negative sentiment and the lowest positive sentiment. So people are not going to vote. I don't believe that people are going to vote for them if they stand against values and principles.
Yeah, well, let's wait and see, right? The 1st of November is in a couple of days' time, and we'll see if the sentiments online are going to translate into what they will translate into on the 1st of November. Thank you very much to digital analyst Carmen Murray and Muzi Kuzwayo, who is a brand expert. I really appreciate you guys joining me for this discussion.